You see, it sounds better when you drop oil. So water mixable myths, water mixable misconceptions, water mixable mayhem, water mixable oil mayhem. It loses.
It does.
It's not as hot. I like the hotness.
Water mixable oil madness and mayhem.
Madness, mayhem, absolute manarchy, malarkey. There, water mixable malarkey. After we did our artist problems on fat over lean, I was getting tons of questions on, well, how does this apply to water mixable oils? Is this true for water mixable oils? And it carried over to other things we were doing, like when we were doing our Jerry's Live on oil mediums, people were like, well, what about water mixable oils? I thought that I had put this to bed. Now, some of you guys are new, okay? And hi, I'm Michael. Some of you guys are a little bit newer to our channel, and some of you guys have been around a long time. And I actually did quite a few videos a while back, 5, 10, 40 years ago, where I do prove-its. I did these prove-its on water mixable oils, and I actually did like a slew of like 3 or 4 of them, trying to explain them and, make sure that everybody's on the same page with them. But nobody cares. It was too long ago, so I got to update this and try to get everybody on the same page when it comes to water mixable oils, because it was very apparent to me that artists are having a problem fully understanding what they are on all different levels, okay? So at the very basic level, we'll just start with number 1. I don't know if we want to put that up here. Number 1 thing, okay? Water mixable oils, what they are, okay, the secret, they are oils. They are oil paints. Think of them, because they are, as oil paints. This thing's always, okay, all right. Now I'm just hearing that beep. Are you hearing the beep? Okay, so it's probably in my head. They are oil paints. These are not acrylics that have been tweaked. These are not, they are oil paints, okay? What has happened is, on the molecular level, they have basically changed out one little, I remember I had this really cool graphic that I had showing how one little molecule was replaced with another one, and that made them water mixable. It's essentially what it is. Now, I'm not a scientist, as you very well know. I just use my artist science standards, as you know. And I just think it's important that you understand on the very basic level that they are oil paints, okay? Now, another misconception or mistake or mayhem or whatever we're calling this video is that they're not artist quality paints. That's just not true. That's just not true. These paints are artist quality. Now, why do people feel like they're not artist quality paints? Well, there's a couple of reasons. There's a lot of similarities that you might see to water mixable oils to a student grade paint. One of that is that you won't necessarily see like a lot of cadmium colors or cobalt colors, these heavy metal or more toxic colors. Instead, you might see cadmium red hue or cobalt blue hue. Although, if you've watched my frequently asked artist questions on student grade versus artist grade, or actually no, that was what does hue mean, I think. I've done so many videos, guys, I'm losing track of my mind. If you've watched the video I did where I talk about what does hue mean, you know that a hue does not mean student quality. But what it does mean is it's a substitute for what the original pigment was, which in the case of a cadmium is a cadmium, and they replace it with a hue. Now, why would they do that if they can do it? Because obviously cadmiums are water soluble, it goes in watercolor, right? Well, I think the people that use water mixable oils, they are very health conscious and they want to make sure that they are being safe. So they want a non-toxic product. So it has nothing to do with the quality of the pigment. It has to do with the safety of the pigment. And they want to make sure that they're substituting those potentially toxic depending on how you use it. Now, I also did a frequently asked artist question on, are my pigments safe, or whatever the heck I called it. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about, and I appreciate that. You're all caught up. I've got to fill everybody in, okay? Now I'm just getting frustrated in doing this. At the end of the day, you just have to know that they are an artist quality paint. Now, another thing is they have a limited range, which is also kind of similar to a student grade paint. Some artist grade paints have 70 colors, other have like 200, when they get, crazy. Most student grade paints have a shorter, smaller range. Across the board, water mixable oil paints have a smaller, shorter range. I think the reason behind that is just simply supply and demand. There's just not a huge amount of demand for that whole color range. They just make it limited. And also, art supply stores have limited space, so they want to make sure that if they want their oil paints and their water mixable oil paints to get placement in a store, they got to make it work for them because everything has to, fit in the, that's kind of retail-y. I'll get off that subject. What else is going on? All the rules with oils apply. So those of you asking me about fat over lean, those of you asking me about oil mediums, it's all the same for water mixable oils, okay? So now let's talk about where they're different and why there are some misconceptions, as we go back to my M words, as to, why they're not the same as oil paints, Now, there are mistakes that are made, okay? Mistake number one, if you're using water mixable oils, this is water mixable oils right here, this titanium white, you have to make sure that when you incorporate water, it's just for cleaning. It's just for cleaning. Do not use water as a medium in water mixable oils. It will damage your paint film, and it is not designed to thin your paint. It's designed so that you can clean up easily without solvents. Does that make sense? There are certain things, like Artisan makes this special thinner. Okay, water dries really fast. Okay, this is a slower drying diluent for water mixable oils so that it doesn't crack, it doesn't dull. And that's another thing that you might have heard is that, water mixable oil paints are not as luminous as oil paints. In all honesty, depending on the brand, some of them might be it's very subjective, a little duller, but you can varnish over any of them and have any sheen you want. But the biggest reason you might see a major difference is if you're using water to thin your paints. That will really dull the sheen. Okay, that will really make it lean. And again, I did a whole video, a whole prove it video where I do an oil painting and a water mixable oil painting trying to get people to tell me which one was which, and it was really like just split down the middle. People couldn't tell. So let's talk about some other questions that I got. Another question that I got, and I got frequently, was, can I use them with my regular oil paints? And the answer is yes, you can. You can use them with your regular oil paints. If you're going to add in your regular oils with your water mixable oils, that's fine, but you gotta pay attention if you're going to try to keep them water soluble when you want to clean, okay? Because remember, we're not using water as our medium. So what have I done here? I put out, this is the Lucas Berlin Titanium White, okay? And this is their, the Lucas regular oil colors, okay? This is just some magenta. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna basically slowly add, because I think that Berlin said about 30% was the mix. I'm gonna slowly add, I'm gonna see how much pink it takes until it won't be water soluble anymore, okay? How much of this magenta do I put into the white? So what I'm going to do is, again, artist science standards, that's me. I'm going to just play with paint the way you would at home and see at what point it might not remain water soluble. Because right now, if I add water to this, it's just going to beat up because this is regular. So here we go. Let's just take, all right, well, make sure that we can see. We're just going to take a little bit here, okay? I'm just going to mix that right in. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is got Klinsky sable here, and I just want to see, I don't want to get this thing, super wet. Does it still thin with water? Yes. You see that? That's it thinning with water, okay? Water mixable. So, let me add a little bit more, okay? And this time I'm going to get a little bit, I'm going to take some risks here, and I'm going to add, let's say, about that much, okay? And I'll take some of that out, put that there. Yeah, I think that if I can take this, I'll tell you this, if I can get my brush all loaded up and put it in regular, tap water and it cleans out, that means it's working, okay? That means it's working. Like that tingling stuff in your scalp from the 80s. Like, hey, it's tingling, that means it's working. Now, I will say that I am seeing a little bit more remnants in my brush, so this is really pushing the limits of how much oil I can put in there if I want it to thin with water for cleanup, okay? So I'm probably going to stop that experiment right there, because if I add any more, I will definitely need to break out some solvents to use that. You can see it mixed just fine. They're both oil paints, okay? If you don't care about its water solubility, you can use them right in between interchangeably with the rest, okay? So let me clean this up and collect my thoughts, figure out what I'm talking about, and hopefully it won't be about dandruff. Another thing that, again, depending on the brand you're using, now we're using the Lucas Berlin here, depending on the brand you're using, another thing that might be slightly different, again, this is so slight, this is not, leaps and bounds different, is the drying time. Now, the drying time between an oil paint and an acrylic paint is like night and day. 15 minutes, acrylic can set up. 15 years, you don't even know if your oils are dry. With water mixable oils, depending on the brand, it will vary. They can dry a little bit on the faster side. And also, one other thing that they can be is that I find they can be just a little tackier. Okay, not like me tacky, but a little bit like stickier. So let me just put out some more paint here. I mean, it depends on the brand. It's not like a bad problem or anything. Again, this is so similar. This paint, okay, this water mixable paint, it still has, Lucas has beeswax as one of its additives. This has the beeswax in it too, okay? It's made in a very similar fashion. So if you look at these two colors, I mean, first of all, I mean that's just, very luminous looking paint right there, and this is the regular oils right here. But in terms of like that stickiness, I don't even know if you'll be able to see a difference. It's oil paint. It's oil paint. That's all I want to show you. So this is the water mixable oils. Okay, maybe you're getting a little bit of that. Maybe that might be an issue. I just want to give you guys like a visual of what you can, if you've never used water mixable oils and been curious about it, see. So then here's the regular, and yeah, you see how it doesn't. I'm not getting. Well, I am. So it's the same thing. The same thing. Like, it's very minor if there's any difference. If you can see a difference at home, please feel free to tell me you're lying. I can see it right there, because it's subjective, I guess. But pulling them both out, this is both ultramarine blue in the Lucas line. This is just the water mixable one, and this one right over here is the regular one. And they both cover very similarly, beautifully, deliciously. If you do plan on using a combination of water mixable oils and regular oil paints, it is advised that you do use solvents to fully clean out your brush. Now, you might be able to get away with 1 or 2 painting sessions, but if there is regular oil paint in there, it can gunk up over time, so you might want to give it a good solvent cleaning. If you are worried about those health things, we talked about those Chelsea Classical Studio non-toxic brush cleaners that they have, which are really fantastic, that will clean the brush without those carcinogens and fumes. But it is a good idea just to kind of give it a good thorough cleaning when you are mixing them. And this is another question I get. Just like you want to keep your acrylic brushes separate from your oil painting brushes, again, these are oil paints, so you want to keep your acrylic brushes separate from your water mixable oil painting brushes, because they're still oil paint. Okay, is that clear? It's still an oil paint, okay? It just can thin with water, and that also means that it needs to be treated differently, just, than an acrylic. There are a lot of mediums out there that can do a lot of different things. Lucas makes this fast drying medium. This will also give it more sheen. For some of you guys that still might want to make your own mediums, there's water mixable linseed oil, there's water mixable stand oil, there's water mixable everything. And another unique thing, I'm not even going to demo this because I don't even know how it works. This is Lucas's medium number 7, claims that it will take your regular oil paints and make them water mixable. Isn't that exciting sounding? So do you use water mixable oils? It sounds like a lot of you guys do. Do you have any more questions about water mixable oils? I promise you I will ask somebody that actually knows what they're doing if I don't know the answer. Yeah. I'm going to try to give you real answers. I really do. I really try to give real answers. Isn't that nice of me? So yeah, do you use water mixable oils? Have you always been curious about water mixable oils? What are some water mixable oil misconceptions you might have heard, or water mixable oil, I shouldn't say myths. What are some water mixable things you might have heard that have made you either steer away from it or give it a try? And let's share the information. Let's see. Let's get the word out there that water mixable oils are oil paints. And I can't believe I have to say that, but I do. So if you remember the video we did on fat over lean, I talked about how it was most important that you understand the balance between adhesion, drying time, and sheen. The same rules apply for water mixable oils. These are oil paints. And there are tons of mediums out there to help you paint lean, paint fat, get an even sheen, water mixable varnishes. There's a whole line, a whole plethora is it plethora or plethora? A whole plethora of water mixable oil medium options, and there is no reason that you should avoid them because you think they are not as good. If you are concerned about things like not having good ventilation or are avoiding using oil paints altogether because of those sort of things, this is a great way to use oil paints and not have to use solvents, okay? I just think it's very important that you know when it's appropriate to use, water mixable oils, and when it's appropriate to use regular oil paints, and when it's appropriate to use me on Instagram at Mike Now Jerry. That's right. Yeah, you didn't see that one coming. I hid that really well, didn't I? Where I share my life through art and various other behind-the-scenes outtakes, whatever I feel like. I'm very liberal on there. Just stick it out there. Just stick it out there and let people judge it. So judge me. Or no, what was the thing I said? No one to use me. Yeah, no one to use me on Instagram. I think we can have with that. Depending on the ratio, you can make your own lean medium or fat medium. Oh, I should probably stop. Come on, Will. Find it. Find the thing. Find the thing. Oh, you're wide? Oh, great. This is what I look like wide.